Good morning. Welcome to our worship service from the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence. I'm Janet Bush. I'm the minister of the congregation. I want to say thank you to Kathy Lilly and Amanda Van Lankfeld, who are running our Zoom service this morning. I'm very glad to see you here. In January, David Caruso, Craig Dreeszen, and Chris Spicer facilitated a series of group discussions of a book by Ruth King called Mindful of Race, and that book discussion group generated rich conversations and sharing and learning. And so they're here this morning to share with you some of Ruth King's wisdom and their own learning and reflections. We strive to be a congregation that welcomes people of all ages, races, religious beliefs, backgrounds, sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities. We belong to the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and we are guided and inspired by its values and principles. Those values and principles move us to remember that in Northampton we inhabit unceded land of the Pecumtuck and Nipmuc peoples. Our values and principles remind us to acknowledge our responsibility to face all of the painful legacies of dispossession and systemic racism that are part of our collective history, even as we affirm and celebrate all the legacies that inspire us. We're here to support and celebrate one another, to renew ourselves with hope and gratitude and resolve. If you are new or are returning after a time away, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're very glad you're here. Please feel free to fill out a virtual visitor card, which will be in the chat. Doing that allows us to put you on our email contact list. We ask that you remain muted throughout the service and turn off your videos except during the greeting. That helps the technology work more smoothly. We hope you'll decide to stay for coffee hour, social hour afterwards. Your coffee's on you. It's a great way to engage in meaningful conversations with people that you might otherwise not have met. And now we'll begin our service.
Our opening words today were written by Larry Yang. Larry teaches Zen meditation retreats and has a special interest in creating access to Buddhist teachings for diverse, multicultural audiences. Aspiration prayer. May I be as loving in this moment as I can. If I cannot be loving in this moment, may I be kind. If I cannot be kind, may I be non-judgmental. And if I cannot be non-judgmental, may I not cause harm. And if I cannot not cause harm, may I cause the least harm possible.
Please join as we read the words for lighting the chalice. We light our chalice as a beacon of hope, a sign of our quest for truth and meaning. We light our chalice as a beacon of love and celebration of the life we share together. Chris Spicer will now read our story.
Now, by Antoinette Portis. This is my favorite breeze. And this is my favorite leaf. This is my favorite hole, this one, because it's the one I'm digging. This is my favorite mud. This is my favorite worm. This is my favorite cloud because it's the one I'm watching. This is my favorite rain. That was my favorite boat. This is my favorite tree because it's the one where I am swinging. This is my favorite smell. This is my favorite bird. And this is my favorite song because it's the one I am singing. This is my favorite gulp. And this is my favorite bite. This is my favorite tooth because it's the one that is missing. This is my favorite hug. And this is my favorite moon. And this is my favorite now, because it's the one I am having.
It is the one I am having with you. Please join now in singing Our World is One World.
And now it's time to greet one another. You're invited to turn on your videos, wave, or say hello in chat. If you are new or newish and would like to, please say hello and tell us where you're from. We recommend you turn your screen to gallery view.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all. Always new faces and faces that we've seen 100 times. Jesselyn, good morning. Hi, Diane. They have a family member in the service this morning, Jesselyn and Diane. Good morning, John Gausted. Good morning, Lawson. Nice to see you. Sue Kubik, I don't think I know you. Good morning, good morning. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. It's great to see everyone. I hope you had a wonderful day yesterday in the warmth and the sun, and a wonderful day today, and we're hoping we'll get rain. And now let's end our greeting time and take a moment to sing out everyone who is going to religious education classes.
Go now in peace, go now in peace.
Go now in peace, go now in peace, go thou spirit of
Go now
on?
Now it is, oh, you are on.
Am
You
I?
can go first, Molly.
Okay. Hi, I'm Molly Hale, and I'm echoing. This is a Social Justice Minute, which recognizes that our faith calls us powerfully to action on social justice and the environment. Good news. On March 26, a landmark climate bill was signed into law that sets a roadmap for Massachusetts to reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, including 5-year mandated benchmarks overall and in specific sectors such as transportation, electricity, and buildings. I encourage you to learn about this exciting new law in the link in the chat. More good news. On April 2nd, the biomass plant that was planned for a low-income section of Springfield had its permit revoked by the state DEP for reasons including health impacts on environmental justice communities. But other biomass plants could still be approved in the future because biomass is still classified as carbon neutral, thus qualifying for state subsidies. The reality is that burning wood is not carbon neutral. It releases sequestered carbon into the atmosphere. Wood biomass energy only becomes carbon neutral after about 50 to 100 years as new trees grow. And our timeline for halting carbon emissions is much shorter. So while we celebrate the good news, both successes that were driven by citizen activism, we need to keep the pressure on to permanently remove biomass's designation as renewable in state and federal climate plans. Please see the second link in the chat for instructions on how to write to Governor Baker about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you to everyone from the Climate Action Group who keep reminding us and keep us informed about all the things that we can do to try to help alleviate some of the damage from excessive carbon burning. This is a time when we take a moment in gratitude and to share our generosity. And one of the things I'm grateful for this morning, and I hope you are too, this is the first time in months and months that you have heard our beautiful grand piano, and we are very, very grateful to Steve Schrems, who is helping us work on the sound and improve our sound so that we're able to use our wonderful instruments, and we hope improve the sound overall for the music in our services. So thank you to Steve. Thank you to all of you for all you do and your generosity. Our offering will be received as you are so able and willing today or this week, and we'll now enjoy the offertory music.
Our first reading this morning is from Ruth King's book, Mindful of Race. It's from part 2, which is called Mindfulness, Heart Surgery. Ruth King is an international teacher in the Buddhist insight meditation tradition, and she currently teaches Mindful of Race training programs nationwide. Racism is a heart disease. How we think and respond is at the core of racial suffering and racial healing. If we cannot think clearly and respond wisely, we will damage the world's heart. The practice of mindfulness meditation supports us in experiencing more mental ease and harmony. It offers a way for us to slow down and investigate our experiences with care and wise attention. It supports us in bearing witness to our racial distress and conditioning without distortion, elaboration, or judgment. With mindfulness practice, we learn to simply receive the present moment and focus our attention on what's happening right now and the impact it is having on us. Now, mindfulness meditation is a deceptively simple practice. It involves sitting still and settling calmly into the present moment. As Ruth King puts it, cultivating calm is fundamentally a practice of presence in which we focus on the breath and body and disregard everything else. Reb Anderson, a well-known Zen teacher, says, mindfulness is pure presence, unconnected to any human contrivance. However, as I said, it is deceptively simple because we typically have very little experience of just being present in our everyday life. Our minds roam around ceaselessly into the past and the future, envisioning memories and plans, rehashing old preferences, judgments, wishes, and worries, and all the emotions that are tied to them, including racial distress, taking us again and again away from the present moment in which we actually pass our lives. And our bodies respond in kind, tensing, tightening, stressing, fidgeting, always responding to the waves of our thought patterns. So in mindfulness meditation, how do we focus on our body and breath and, as Ruth King says, disregard all of this inner activity and the activity going on in the external world around us? Well, I think perhaps the short answer is we don't. But I'll come back to that in a minute. To practice mindfulness meditation, find a quiet location where you won't be interrupted. Sit on a chair or perhaps a cushion on the floor, and if you can, in a cross-legged position. Hold your posture erect but relaxed. Place your hands gently in your lap. Keep your eyes open but downcast in front of you. Then breathe naturally and pay attention to your inhales and exhales. Feel your body posture and where it touches the chair or the cushion. Allow everything else, including your mind's activity and the things happening around you, to just be what they are. Now back to this idea of disregarding everything else, or as Reb Anderson said, sitting without human contrivance. To disregard something doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It happens. Your thoughts and emotions come and go. You just don't allow them to capture you. You allow them to come and then to go. And when you notice that your mind has wandered off, gently bring your attention back to your body and breath and the present moment. There's a famous saying in the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian holy book, that goes something like this. The mind is turbulent, strong, and unyielding, as difficult to tame as the wind. Luckily, in mindfulness meditation, we are not trying to tame the mind. Rather, we are, in a real sense, experiencing it and at the same time forming a different relationship with it. As we return again and again to pure presence, we begin to bear witness to our racial distress and conditioning without distortion, elaboration, or judgment. To quote Ruth King again, without wise awareness, habitual patterns of our lives are ruling us. Mindfulness practice brightens the mind and softens the heart, allowing us to see more clearly our own reflection and that of the world. With such clarity, we can do what must be done with care and understanding. We'll now take a few minutes of silence together. I invite you to let yourself experience this in a mindfulness meditation practice approach. Sit where you are, hold your posture a bit more erect perhaps, keeping your eyes open, focus on your inhales, your exhales, and feel your body's posture where it relaxes on the seat. We'll sit this way together for about 2 minutes.
second reading, also from Ruth King. When we are at war with or struggle against the energy of our emotions, our minds are zoomed in like a highly focused camera. We are one with the agitation boiling and tight in the body. When we zoom in, something is always left out of view. To befriend or nurture our disturbances is to zoom out, to open and allow awareness to be known through a broader lens. To nurture is to speak to our heart and mind with kindness and to become aware without interference, judgment, or wishing things were other than they are. We begin to notice how the nature of racial distress is always changing, often unsatisfactory, and not always a personal affront. In part by popular requests from our winter book group, I've chosen to focus on one of the practices that Ruth King teaches, called RAIN. It's a process of working with emotional reactivity, developed by Vipassana meditation teacher Michelle McDonald. It's an acronym. R stands for recognize, A for allow, I for investigate, N for nurture. RAIN is a practice of inquiry through which we can tame our habitual impulse to fight what is happening, avoid what is happening, or distort what is happening. It's a practice of learning to examine our relationship to racial or other distress, in part by bearing witness to that distress, discovering that it is not personal, permanent, or perfect. With RAIN, we are investigating the unfinished business of the heart through the body. Awareness plays a critical role in RAIN. It allows us to see without over-identifying with what is seen. Awareness of anger is not angry. Awareness of fear is not frightened. Awareness just mirrors back what is present without distortion. While there's not time this morning to take you through a full experience of RAIN, I'll give you a quick overview of the 4 components. And to give you a taste of the process, I want to invite some discomfort. Bring to mind a difficult question, issue, or experience, particularly as it relates to race and racism. Hold this thought. Notice related feeling reactivity that might arise. Perhaps I can help by reading a few of these phrases. Oh, we're going to talk about race? I don't see color. Aren't we all the same? Race is an illusion. I'm oppressed in my own ways. White people are ignorant about race. Why should I care? I'm invisible. Let's practice. R is recognize what's happening. What's obvious in this moment? We practice noticing and naming. We try to shift to awareness of the body and mind. What do you see and feel? Instead of, I'm angry, try, there's anger. Name body sensations, heat, tight, shaking, holding. This subtle shift supports you in depersonalizing experience, short-circuiting mental proliferation. A is allow. Can I be with what's happening? Yes, it's like this right now. This is hard and it hurts. Let me be with it. To allow is to grow our capacity for both discomfort and ease. We open to soften around what is out of our control. In not taking action, that is, not resisting what is, we become acquainted with the wanting that drives our impulses. Extend self-compassion. We reduce mental effort and urgency, relaxing the body and opening the heart. I. investigate. We ask, how am I relating to what's happening? We practice tracking our experience with kind awareness. We investigate the rhythms, patterns, and places of aliveness in the body, heart, and mind. We drop below the turmoil of our stories, get curious about the images, shapes, colors of experience. This keeps us observing instead of merging with experience. We bring kindness as we explore how we protect ourselves, why we hold on, and how we let go. An N for nurture. We ask, how do I care for this distress? In this moment, what's needed that I can offer? What facilitates release and freedom? Nurturing requires that we suspend identification, that is, the view that what is happening is about me. It's not personal. Relax, open, listen. What's at risk if I let go? Soften, open. We can claim our self, I'm here. Practice metaphrases, may I live with ease and well-being. Or invoke imagery, vastness of the sky, coolness of a still pond, warmth of a fire. You can affirm your basic goodness and that of others. Again, just a taste. We invite you to explore the practice further.
One book or discussion group can't resolve racial injustice. But in part 3 of Mindful of Race, Ruth King writes, we can be hopeful. We can become more choiceful through mindfulness practice. We can cultivate more and more moments of inner freedom. We can respond to racial suffering with more clarity and wisdom. We can be more curious and aware of our impact. We can learn to forgive others and ourselves. Early in our book discussion, I said my meditation practice helped me cope with my unease as I learned more about my role in racial oppression. I said that mindfulness may help us learn to navigate our white privilege. Of course, I was promptly and gracefully challenged. Naomi Clayman asked, what's our goal? Are we learning only to be calm in the face of racial injustice? And there are meditation practices that invite us to retreat from the world, but we're inspired by our mission and by Unitarian and Buddhist traditions that call us to act, to better our world. Ruth King also calls us to action, what she calls recovery from the heart disease of racism. She writes, as you become more mindful of race, there's a social responsibility that you can't easily escape. We're learning here at the Unitarian Society of many opportunities to take action. So I appreciated King's focus more on how to take action. As we develop the capacity to become more attentive, we could act more skillfully and not just react impulsively to provocations as they arise. King writes, meditation practices help us delayer our experience so we can be present to what's here right now. We can have agency in this moment. We can bring mindfulness to it. We can be more curious than critical, bear witness to what's here, and to respond to social needs instead of react. I find mindfulness inspires compassion, and Buddhism teaches us that actions arising from compassion are more effective than actions arising from anger, fear, or righteousness. Compassion allows us to see the worth and dignity of others, to forgive, to learn from our mistakes, and not to give up when we find we are clumsy. But acting in the awareness in the heat of the moment takes practice. Flight from danger and fight against threat are baked into our DNA. That's why our species has prospered. I may overhear a stranger's racist remark or hear a friend demean a political opponent. My impulse is to avoid conflict or to voice my critical judgments. And we can't predict when we'll be called to act in the service of justice. It takes practice to pause and ask what is a skillful way to respond here, in this moment, to this person right now. We're building our capacity to pay attention to the moment and choose more effective actions. One from our book group said she was learning to pause, notice her feelings, check her assumptions before responding in a stressful situation. Another said it was counterintuitive to turn towards distress, yet that's exactly what brings clarity about what to do next. We call cultivating the mindfulness a practice for a reason. Reading Mindful of Race has been helpful, but I once read a book on how to play a guitar, and I still couldn't play a guitar. I found it took practice. Many of us here are committed to learning and practicing loving dialogue, but even with practice, we make mistakes. King reminds us, we won't always know what to do or how to go about it. There is no certainty, no right way. There is only awareness and need and awkwardness. It's messy. A mindfulness practice, whether formal meditation or walking gratefully in the woods, builds our skill and courage to do what must be done to heal the heart disease of racism. Ruth King shows us how mindfulness intersects with and advances racial justice. We can respond to racial suffering with more clarity and wisdom. We can be more curious and aware of our impact. We can learn to forgive others and ourselves. May it be so. Please now join in our final hymn, May I Be Filled with Loving Kindness.
Our closing words today are from Ruth King. It's the prayer that she closes her book with. May we understand and transform racial habits of harm. May we remember that we belong to each other. May we grow in our awareness that what we do can help or hinder racial well-being. May our thoughts and actions reflect the world we want to live in and leave behind. May we heal the seeds of separation inherited from our ancestors with gratitude for this life. May all beings, without exception, benefit from our growing awareness. May our thoughts and actions be ceremonies of well-being for all races. May we honor the diverse racial beings among the human race and beyond. And may we meet the racial cries of the world with as much wisdom and grace as we can muster.
Thank you, Lemmy. Thank you, Steve.